And welcome back, RosterWatch Nation. It's your friendly neighborhood Trashman, and this is the Garbage Grab, where we often speak of players who are not often spoken of in fantasy circles, just because they're a little bit more under the radar, underrated often, but not today. I'm here on behalf of RosterWatch.com, where we have all the fantasy information you will ever need to nominate your drafts, your leagues rather, from draft throughout the championship. Today I'm going to be talking about some players who have really soft strengths of schedules to start the season, wide receivers in particular, players who you can probably pick up later in your drafts that are going to do well for you because they have such a soft schedule to start the season off with. I'm getting this information from RosterWatch.com, our strength of schedule tool for wide receivers, where Alex has painstakingly put together the entire schedules for each team and their opposing defenses, where you can kind of look and see where teams are going to have a tougher road ahead and where they're going to have an easy stretch. These players I'm going to be talking about today have easy stretches, at least to start this season. Some may go through the first half of the season, some maybe just the first 4 or 5 games, but these are going to be guys you can pencil in early on in your leagues. To get things started, we have Curtis Samuel of the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers have the softest schedule for wide receivers overall, and they faced Tampa twice before Week 6. If you have forgotten, Tampa Bay has a terrible secondary, and they love to be exploited. The only tough matchup the Panthers have early on in the season is Jacksonville in Week 5. As far as Samuel goes, in his last 5 games, he had 3 games over 70 yards and 3 games with 8 or more targets. And now there's no Devin Funchess around to take some of those targets. Sure, Chris Hogan has been added to the team, but he shouldn't pose much of a threat. So Curtis Samuel, you can get him mid-round, late round, probably, in a lot of formats. So pick him up, and he's likely to be productive for you, at least for that first half of the season. After Samuel, we have Chris Conley, presently of the Jacksonville Jaguars, formerly of the Kansas City Chiefs. Outside of a Week 4 matchup with Denver, the Jags have a sea of soft blue matchups the first half of the season with teams like Kansas City, New Orleans, Houston, and Tennessee to start things off. A schedule like that would be gangbusters for many teams, but you have to temper expectations for Jacksonville. They did add Nick Foles under center, which will probably boost the offensive production to some degree. Marquise Lee will get to a slow start to the season, as he's out on the active, physically unable to perform list with a knee injury that kept him out of 2018 entirely. Word out of Jacksonville right now is that Conley has been the best receiver in Jags camp, which really isn't too hard to believe if you think about it. D.D. Westbrook is still there, and he led the Jags in receiving in 2018. But let's not forget that Conley was the 3rd round pick when he came out in 2015. And he's already been building a rapport with Foles. To me, in my opinion, he's an easy late add. late add that you can probably use, especially in PPR formats. After Conley, we have Chris Godwin of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Godwin, he is a more known player, and his ADP right now is around the 4th round, so you can't get him that late. But why draft Mike Evans in the 2nd round when you can take Godwin in the 4th? New coach Bruce Arians has already stated that Godwin could be a 100-catch guy, and also that he will never leave the field when the offense is on the field. This all bodes well for him, especially when you think that the Buccaneers have one of the cushiest schedules in the league, which they do. The Bucs don't face a premier pass defense until the Jags in Week 13. So that's going to be some easy sledding for you. They're going to be allowed to feast for the majority of the season. Hey, if Godwin happens to be gone by the time you get to him, take a shot at Brashard Perriman. He's going to be their third receiver in that offense. And with the kind of schedule that they have, he could pay dividends. And you're not going to pay a lot for him in the first place. So yeah, there we have Chris Godwin. Up next, Randall Cobb of the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas doesn't face a tough secondary until after their Week 8 bye. So when I take a look at Cobb, the underneath receiver for the Cowboys, teams are already going to be doing their best to stifle Amari Cooper and Ezekiel Elliott. So Cobb may just play way over his head as long as he can stay healthy, which he hasn't been especially adept at recently. But he's in a new team. He's had some time off to rest this offseason. If he doesn't do some PPR damage the first half of the season, it's not because he didn't have the opportunity. He's probably going to be the third option there in Dallas. I don't know, maybe Jason Witten battles him for that, but Randall Cobb should see plenty of action there, especially in the early goings of this season. Up next, an oldie but a goodie, Todd Gurley of the New Orleans Saints. The Saints do have Jacksonville and Chicago back-to-back in Week 6 and 7, but their first 5 weeks are pretty comfy, with Houston, Seattle, and Tampa Bay all in that mix. Todd Gurley is 34 and missed most of 2018 with injury, but he did average around 7 targets a game in the 7 games he appeared in 2018. If he can stay healthy, he can serve as a nice placeholder if you miss out on a decent third or fourth receiver in your draft. Up next, we have Sterling Shepard of the New York Giants. Some, and maybe including myself, are expecting aggression from Shepard, if not for him to hover around the same 900 yards and 4 touchdowns that he had in 2018. But he's going to get off on a fast start regardless of that. He's got Dallas, Buffalo, Tampa Bay, and Washington to start the season. And so that should make an easy enough situation for him to rack up PPR points. A 5th round ADP right now. Shepard may not be a true wide receiver 2 all season, but he will be for the first half of it. So use him. Last but not least, we have the entire Los Angeles Rams wide receiving core. Todd Gurley's usage is a question mark going into this season. And if he's not on the field, that means teams can focus more on the Rams' pass catchers. Fortunately for them, they have an extremely friendly start to their season. Carolina, New Orleans, Tampa Bay, Seattle, and San Francisco are 5 of their first 6 matchups. And those teams will be really easy to pass on in 2019 if 2018 was any indication. I mean, you were probably going to draft all of those receivers anyway for the Rams. But if you're worried about how not having Gurley in the game might affect their production, I don't think it will affect it very much considering their schedule, at least for the first half of this season. Anyways, these are my fast starters for wide receivers in the NFL in 2019. This is the Trashman. This is the Garbage Grab on behalf of RosterWatch.com. Until next time, be ready.